where he left off against Lopez, where he hit an unbelievable backhand pass to set up match point. And looking to try and get things going early. That's the challenge. It's a challenge that he has taken on this year. Andy on second serves. He's the best returner of the second serve on tour in 2012. But he doesn't face too many second deliveries like that.
And the measure of a great server is not just what he produces on the first serve, but how and in what way he delivers the second. You saw Raonic, heavy spun second serve that's as nasty as the first. And the speed that gets through the service box, you've got less than half a second to make a move, much less recognize which direction it's going.
Game Raonic, first game.
Taste of things to come. Murray with a wonderful opening point, but Raonic showing his mettle and his class with that service delivery. I was having this thought today, because we talk a lot about obviously the big servers, and Isner has lost to Kohlschreiber, which equaled the latest finish ever here at the US Open at 2 a.m. in the morning, 26 minutes past the hour. But the reason that Isner lost the match wasn't because he returned poorly, it's because he can't hang on to his serve consistently. And I just wonder whether there's a little too much focus sometimes with the big guys on their returning game, rather than actually working out ways to hang on to the serve even more effectively.
Now that's an interesting thought. I mean, can you imagine having players like Raonic throughout the entire length of the tour who are serving at 70%, 80% first serves, holding their serve 90 to 92% of the time, and then the game's getting taller, stronger, faster, and the serves are evidence of that. And it is starting to happen. You know, Federer was sort of the prototype at 6'1", Murray's 6'3", Djokovic 6'2". The game is growing a little bit bigger at the top. The players in pursuit are taller. So serves are going to be a part of the game moving forward.
40 love.
You just have to wonder about that service return position, though, from Raonic. It's 15 feet behind the baseline on the second serve.
It's almost a disadvantage for him to play on such a big court because he can play even further back.
Yeah.
Because you actually want him up there, because he's such an imposing figure, but you actually look at the reason he went up there was because he was so far behind the baseline, he even struggled to get that ball.
Yeah, and it was just a couple of feet inside the baseline. But you can see once he does take these strides, look at how close he can get to the net. He improves his position quickly.
So important, the first hit off the return against a guy like Raonic for Murray. Doesn't allow him to get settled. And he's accomplished that goal very well.
Yeah, the server, so imperative that he not surrender the initiative. He has to maintain the ability to boss his man around. Both these men are going to be trying to do that today. The returner is going to try and wrestle that away. How do I stay on even terms, gain the advantage? It's a chess match with all these bullets flying.
Love the thing. Love the thing.
There's a scarcity of those usually when Raonic is playing double faults. Once again, Murray getting the opening game. He's now served 91 aces, the Canadian, in this tournament. Leads the tour. And just his 25th double fault in the tournament.
Not
Not a lot you can do about that, is there? Got to just take that.
Yeah, you just got to begin to get a feel or a sense of, okay, is this serve coming this way? Get my racket on it. Try and see and read the cues of what he does that might suggest where he's going with it. Hopefully by the second or third set, you're on it. Of course, if he's on his serve, you might be watching it carry him off the back screen.
He's at one at 139 tonight. Tournament fastest for Raonic, 143. Isner, who's out, just 1 mile an hour quicker. It's a simple game, as he himself likes to say. Raonic, my opponents need to adjust to me rather than me adjust to them.
Sounds a little bit like Pete Sampras, the kind of game he brought to the court.
Oh, that is nice. He's so much more than just a big serve. This is going to be a tough match for Murray tonight under the lights here in New York. 2-1. Well, Murray moved to Spain to further his tennis. Raonic moved from Montenegro to Canada, age 3. And certainly didn't have it particularly easy either. Used to use a ball machine at either 6:30 in the morning or after 9 o'clock at night, because the court fees were cheaper at this time. Much has actually changed in Tennis Canada for the better in the last 6 years. Employed a Frenchman, Louis Ortiga, and of course the girls and the boys winner at Wimbledon this year, junior winner, was 2 Canadians.
15 love.
Yeah, and I always wonder about junior development programs these days, whether it's more about junior procurement. Can you come to our country if you have talent, as opposed to developing your own? But he has developed under the auspices of TC, Tennis Canada. Big part of his development.
Well, that's what Murray does to you. He'll pull you out of your comfort zone. He might add in a little bit of torture as well, if he can. Smart shot, because Raonic, as we've been saying, does like to play deep. It's not always easy, though, with the pace that Raonic delivers his shots with.
And I understand the theory behind standing back on the serve. You know, there are times when you want to stand in the back, get a feel for what's coming, get a nice full swing on the ball. But when you're 6 feet 4 inches, 5 inches tall like Raonic, you know, step up and impose yourself. Be a presence with your position, not just your forehands and backhands.
Okay, Murray.
Yeah, another short ball, and really just that. It wasn't a drop shot per se. It was just something short. Just saying, okay, let's see how you deal with that. And the Canadian did not deal with it particularly well. So Murray surrendering just the 1 point in his first couple of service games. Very solid out of the blocks defending his serve.
See, that is perfect. A little bit of analysis at the start of the match is saying that if he can get it on that backhand side, it is substantially weaker, that shot, than the forehand.
Yeah, he needs more time to produce it. It doesn't come off the racket with the length and the pace and the accuracy. It gives Murray some options.
Too good. Third game in a row on Raonic's serve. He's managed to grab the opening point. He's only been able to grab 1 point off the first serve when Raonic has made it. So that's the 200th point he's played when he's made a first serve, and he's lost just 23. It's going to pay a few bills, Lee.
Yeah, that's an impressive number, isn't it? Boy. I'm not sure how big a house you can build in Toronto.
How big a house do you need? This constitutes an opportunity, though, for Britain's number one, 30 all. Too good. Took the pace off, found the width.
It's unreturnable, isn't it? I mean, you can even guess on that one, and I don't think you catch up to that. That thing had a blinker on it. It's turning right.
Right side line. Moscow good.
No one brave enough to give their opinion on this, I can assure you. He's made it. That's also clearly unreturnable. Couldn't have walked round the net and placed it any better.
Raonic leads 3 games.
3-2, Raonic.
Murray has 2 challenges remaining.
Well, it's always a great occasion at night.
Miller, do you mind if you put your bag on the side?
Raonic, who is just getting asked a bit of housekeeping here by the umpire. I'm not quite sure. Maybe he thinks it's a bit too close to the surface, which, to be fair, it would be if there was a short-angled volley. Maybe Murray would run into it. Well, he's run into a man serving pretty well. His average first serve speed in the last match, Raonic, was 129 miles per hour. Murray's 113. And tonight, he's at 131 already. I thought they said it was slower at night.
Murray's charging the call right, center service line, ball's called out.
You can't measure the adrenaline that these players feel and how energized when you walk on a stage of this magnitude.
Second service.
That'll add a few miles per hour to your serve, the excitement of competing out here.
How much pressure is implied pressure on your service games after Raonic starts a match like this as well?
Oh, I think you know it and sense it the moment you walk onto the court. look across the net and you see a guy, you're looking up into his eyes. I mean, you know what's coming down on you. Particularly down low, 15-second serve. You know, Raonic is going to take a swing, maybe get around the backhand here.
Love that.
Murray trying to get the big hit in, falling off it. Understandable why he took it down the middle there. He sort of didn't want to give Raonic any angles off that forehand. Have to cover more of the court, but real pressure developing. Timely first serve.
And you have to like that hard slice, but it had enough flat to it that it was moving pretty well into the body of the big Canadian. I was thinking he was going to go out to the backhand there to get something he could hit. Instead, he attacked right into the strength. First ace on the board for Andy.
Projected to go to 14 in the rankings after this week. Raonic, even if he loses tonight, a career best for him. And interestingly, I looked at his stats from 2011 that they do on the tour for first serve percentage, points won on first serve, second serve, service games won. Won't bore you with all the details, but the greatest improvement he's made this year is with his serve. His returning stats are virtually the same, 16% returning games won.
Yeah, well, I think the serve's been a fairly consistent topic. How can he improve it? Is it the toss? Is it his pronation? He just... a higher percentage is always going to help him. Hold serve more often, you can win a gold medal.
Picks him off. Again, he gets the first point of the game. And there's Murray's better ability to balance and hold his position, wait for the shot.
You know, and again, there's that static forehand. You know, a lot of players could just run through that shot. It seems like the 21st century guy needs to stop and then go. He lost a step there, Raonic.
Oh, what a forehand. Murray couldn't have done any better. 136 mile an hour first serve, back into play. Crushed back at him. 95 mile an hour winner. This guy brings serious heat to a tennis court, even on a cool New York night.
Production on the second serve return is going to be a key today. What a great return that was. It's standard, but it's massive tonight. Just trying to find the fastest looking tennis ball he can, the one that has the least amount of fluff, that's going to go through the court like a missile.
What a great change-up.
Oh. I mean,
that's what happens when your parents are nuclear engineers. You get some brain. That's where we went wrong. We had the wrong parents.
We can calculate how that ball will land. You will win the point 100% of the time.
Don't ever take responsibility for your actions. Always find an excuse. Brilliant from Murray. Half a chance. He snapped it up. And that's the difference this evening. Just a few millimeters, a few inches here and there. Raonic in the previous game found the outside of the line with the first serve. That one was within the strike zone of Murray. And can he strike now? First break point. It's well saved. Murray expected better of himself. He always does. Lendl in the middle, Andy Ireland on the right of your picture, the physio, and Belvedere on the left, his permanent coach, whereas Ivan is coach for the big occasions. Sensational from Raonic. Longest rally of the evening, but he doesn't mind going deep as well.
And he doesn't mind going down the line or cross court. He loves the inside out. That is an impressive finish because it had angle, didn't it? Oh, that's an amazing combination of plays. This guy's got a forehand you have to reckon with. Wow.
How hard he worked to keep it on his forehand out on that backhand side as well. That was an intelligent game in the end. Under pressure for the first time on serve, Raonic. But he comes through, 4-3. Even beat Dolly the other evening. He's beaten Wawrinka here back in 2008 in the fourth round. Gulbis in the first round back in 2009. Third round against Taylor Dent in the same year as well. And of course last year against Feliciano Lopez. This may well prove to be his greatest challenge though. Who was the biggest server you ever played, Lee?
You know who had a pretty big serve back in the day was Ivan Lendl. He could club the ball, and then he also tried changing rackets, went to a larger racket head, and he was crushing serves. He was trying to gain that extra edge. You know, he was trying to find a way to take home the Wimbledon title, and he felt he had to build his serve a little bigger, a little stronger. I mean, he had a rocket. Obviously, Pete Sampras, biggest and best serves of all time.
Didn't you grab a winning record against him?
Sampras? I think I got him before he became a great player. I think 8 months before he won his first slam.
There's no remarks column when I looked at the head-to-head.
I'll send you something on it.
Not his best volley, but good enough. Second love hold.
But it's the kind of pressure that's going to pay for Murray tonight. You know, make Raonic work hard, sprint hard. I don't think he's as good on the absolute run than he is when he has time on the ball. So even something less than the best on the volley could pay dividends tonight. Of course, watching Andy Murray practice tonight on Ash, Danny Ververdu was halfway up the court hitting hard practice serves down to Murray from just behind the service line, trying to
replicate,
yes, exactly,
if you can.
Yeah, the size and speed of this guy's serve.
He wasn't sure, was he, Raonic, whether that ball on the baseline was in or not. Wasn't confident enough to go to Hawkeye. Had he done so, he would have also lost the point because it was in. Murray's got Raonic in his sights again. Well, we talk about the pressure that Murray must be feeling facing this serve, but let's not forget the pressure that Raonic is feeling from the quality that Murray brings to a tennis court with his returns, and that's a couple of double faults, uncharacteristic from Raonic. And is Murray going to bust the door wide open here? 3 break points. Leads the tour in break points saved this season. Raonic, 75% of them.
I was waiting for you to find that one because this guy seems to serve well when he's behind in the score. Ooh. In with a swing on that pass.
30-40.
Breaks through at the perfect moment in this opening set in typical Murray fashion. 5-4.
Murray leads 5-4. Time.
It's been a lovely first half an hour for Andy Murray. He's made some good inroads previously into the Raonic service game and then finally managed to break through. And needs just one more good service game. He's lost just 3 points on serve to this stage of this opening set, and Raonic needs 4 to break.
Some fabulous defensive movements from Murray. And he just seems to put his body in the right space to perfectly defend what's available to his opponent. I mean, although those are recorded as unforced, you feel like Raonic is feeling the pressure of those moves by Murray. I think, Petch, you highlighted some of those recovery moves by Raonic, by Lopez, some of his opponents, who just don't move as well, do they? They don't recover to defend the space. But Murray, I mean, you could argue that he's the best defender in the game.
It's interesting, isn't it, this game? So Raonic, by all accounts and everybody's perception, is that he has a much weaker backhand return. Murray, 3 first serves into the forehand.
And he did that the last game too, didn't he?
Yep.
He's
Breaking down his strength.
And again.
You need the ability, as you've just highlighted, to move, to be able to do the things that he does so effectively on a tennis court as well. I mean, it's one thing to say to a lesser ranked player, well, this would work well, but if you can't move and do the things that he does with the tennis racket, you're actually going to be playing into Raonic's hands. The first set that's in Murray's hands. A complete set of tennis. That's gone about as well as he could have hoped. 6-4.
Go. 36 minutes gone. Job well done by Andy Murray so far as he nips off for some running repairs. Food for thought for Milos Raonic. One break of serve proving decisive. Peter Fleming is courtside. Peter, your reflections on that first 36 minutes.
I tell you what, Milos Raonic's serve looks huge from the comms box, but down here at court level, it is absolutely ginormous. The guy's 6'5" tall. He's big and strong, but also he gets a huge knee bend on his serve. So when he hits it, he's a good 6-8 inches off the floor. It is an absolute cannon. But in that first set, he blinked. 2 double faults, and the second serve he hit on break point was 90 miles an hour. Murray able to jump on it. That was the difference in set number 1. Set number 2 will need Raonic to come out here and show that he really believes that he's a big match player, that he's the equal of Andy Murray. For Murray, he's done a great job. He's taken the serve into Raonic's forehand, because Raonic, like so many guys with big forehands, likes to move into the backhand corner to hit off forehands and control the rally from that spot. So Murray's done a nice job of putting the Canadian on the back foot.
Peter, a word about the conditions and the crowd. Can you sense who they're backing, and has it got any more or less windy during that first set?
I don't think the crowd is backing either player. They're just enjoying some great tennis, some spectacular tennis. I tell you what, it's breathtaking, the power that Raonic brings to the court. But also, from the other perspective, it really is impressive the way Andy Murray gets around the court and the way he's using the drop shots and finesse shots to keep Raonic off balance. The conditions have settled down. It's not quite as windy. There have been a few spots of rain, but they seem to have subsided for the moment.
Peter, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So far, so good for Mr. Murray. Milos' hopes of becoming the first Canadian man to reach the quarters of a slam in the Open era, hanging if not by a thread, then certainly a little more in the balance. Back up to the box, Leaf and Mark.
Perfect start to the match. Who will make the perfect start to the second set? Enough layers to Raonic's game, you feel, to change things up, or is it too early to need to do that yet?
I think he's played pretty well again. As just to echo Pete's thoughts, just one sort of loose service game, lost his rhythm on his serve.
gets out of his comfort zone. He's not someone that really wants to be driving double-handers up the line.
And you talked about the layers of his game. You know, Raonic, 21 years old. I mean, this is a player still in development. And those layers you talk about that come with experience and wisdom. I mean, this is the first time, you know, he's won matches at the U.S. Open. First time he's played a big match on Ash Stadium court.
But the last time he was here was in 2010 because he was injured here last year after the hip surgery, and he lost in qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, he's what, the first Canadian ever seeded at a Grand Slam event, I believe, in the open air. I mean, he's doing a lot of big-time things at a young age. This is very big time for him.
It's just the fourth return that Murray's missed when he's got his racket on the ball. I mean, that didn't deviate at all. I mean, that came off his racket as pure as anything.
Yeah, it's impressive. I mean, this guy's serve is a thing of beauty. I mean, you watch it in development, he's got such long, strong legs. I mean, the legs, he powers up to the ball. It doesn't look from his upper body like he's that strong, but the serve is a large part of the push you get from the lower body. Up into the toss, loose wrist.
Game Raonic. First game, second set.
I mean, that's a pretty good game. From love 30 down. I think he's handled it pretty well. I mean, yes, he's had the one bad game, but you know, this is all new to him. The background, the lights, the perspective on this court, the speed.
Well, just returning the ball is a massive challenge tonight. Got to do everything well, but there you can see what Murray's tried to do. He has changed it up once on the second serve. Not a lot of need for a body serve when it comes to Raonic, is there?
No. Just get it in anywhere. It comes at you like a particle. Moving fast, looking small.
Raonic has only managed to turn around 3 matches this year after dropping the opening set. Murray, who's only lost 3 matches after winning the opening set this season.
Love 15.
He's only ever lost 6 times in Grand Slam play when he's won the opening set. Pretty amazing record. Now Bandian in 05 at Wimbledon. Nadal, the Australian, in 07. Verdasco 09 at the Australian.
15-all.
Wawrinka 2010 here at the US Open. Nadal, Wimbledon 2011, and of course Fed this year. Some illustrious names in there.
Yeah, that's not a soft lineup of losses.
There's no Petchy Shiras.
Yeah. We better come from behind. Drop the first set, make him feel a little overconfident.
Brilliant.
Yeah, Murray does everything right here. But now he's got to do something outrageous. the strength, the speed to make that happen. Almost looks like he practices that shot. If he gets around it.
I think it's gone long. That was better from Raonic. Really lent on that double-hander cross court, but surprising miss on the overhead. He is a real Jekyll and Hyde character in many people's eyes, Andy, isn't he? I mean, outside the lines of a tennis court, many people find him a little monotone and not that interesting, but when you get him on a tennis court, he's arguably the most entertaining player out there in terms of his style of play and everything that he does.
Yeah, he's a tennis player, isn't he? And that's the easiest and most comfortable way for him to express himself, isn't it?
He's doing it in style tonight.
Fifty.
Like a lot of the tall guys on the tour right now, he's it seems fairly passionless, Raonic, when he's playing. And yet you know there's a fire burning within him. You can see that competitive streak at the end of the matches, but during it, it's very contained.
It's almost like he approaches a tennis match like a math problem, you know, like he's having to solve this puzzle. What do I do well? How does it fit into what my opponent is doing? And eventually he's going to find the answer. Very thoughtful, purposeful in his play.
As he's seen already, it's not good enough just to get the ball back into play. He's got to get it back with a bit of depth, and that's a huge challenge, but it's one that he likes to undertake, and he's found that baseline a number of times, drawn the error, and he's prowling around here looking for an early break in this second set, Murray.
That camera behind Murray is an indication of what he has to deal with. Did you see the bounce off that serve? So, I mean, when you hit a serve onto a court, it slows down when it hits the surface. His serve looks like it accelerates. It's incredible.
That's good disguise as well. That almost looked as though he was going to hit a kick serve there. Instead, he hits a 121 ace down the middle to hold on to his second service game of the second set. 2-1. Well, it's night time at Flushing Meadows, but of course, night time in the Big Apple, Manhattan at night. Is there any better view? Chrysler Building on the right of your picture. Empire State on the left. And here's a human skyscraper.
Yeah. Chris Raonic would argue, well, you haven't seen the Toronto skyline at night. Also beautiful in its own way, but it's the Big Apple tonight. Yeah, I'm not sure he's going to gain much ground going into the Murray forehand.
Well, he's got a problem because he's not the quickest laterally. So if he takes that backhand flat up the line and he doesn't find the right target, doesn't get it close enough to the line, it's Murray's best shot. Just using that pace to flick it cross court. But you can sense there that he was trying to change things up a little. He was certainly trying to play tighter to the baseline. Play from Raonic.
Yeah, if you look at these two players and compare their forehands, who do you think has this more superior shot off that wing?
Raonic.
But you know, watching Murray, you know, he has such great faith and trust in his own weapons. I think he's happy to go forehand to forehand.
Oh yeah.
A little bit like Roger Federer likes to take on his opponent's best plays. It says something about Murray, his confidence, his belief in what he's doing out there.
Murray's trying to come on right side. What's gone out?
Well, for a large part though, Andy's man fits into his style of game as well. And I think that he had improved significantly his forehand down the line this season, which has forced players to cover more of the baseline, has given him, makes his forehand cross-court even more deadly.
13-15.
Yeah, I think his forehand has improved in a lot of ways. It just seems like he's letting it go. You know, he's not holding back. He can inject pace more consistently, more comfortably. He can. That's a pretty good 1-2 punch. And again, into the forehand. It's seemingly tonight triggering a lot of good things for Murray.
Murray. 2 games all, second set.
It's in, isn't it? I'm sure it's in. Raonic is the one that's having to go to the challenge. What a pass that was. How far Murray was behind his own baseline when he hit that leaf.
I mean, I thought he crushed it right on the line. I mean, he rocketed that pass. Yep, caught the paint the whole way.
15-14.
I mean, it looked wild when it came off his racket, but it was still right on the button. Look at this.
Shot of the night. 85 miles an hour. Brings up a couple of break points. wonderful. What a response from Raonic.
Now, for a power player, do you have finesse? Can you bring that to the table? This is made in Canada.
Still got work to do. Not this time.
Advantage Murray.
High octane now. Murray takes a big step towards another quarter-final here in New York. A break to the good in the second set, 3-2.
Time.
Live pictures here at Flushing Meadows outside the Louis Armstrong court as a lot of the fans spill out from there. Bit of a shock as well. Serena and Venus, the Olympic gold medalists, losing in the doubles against Maria Kirilenko and Nadia Petrova. That match was supposed to be on Arthur Ashe, but because of the potential inclement weather, got moved out to Armstrong.
Ready for play. 6 behind the place, please. Thank you.
It's been fairly windy, as Peter Fleming's been saying, but Murray doesn't look as though he's going to be blown off course tonight. Full of purpose.
15 minutes.
Starting to build a very impressive Grand Slam win-loss record as well. He's 17th all-time, ahead of the likes of guys that have won slams. Jim Courier, Leighton Hewitt. In fact, he's the highest ranked man not to have won a slam.
Right front sideline. Ball's called good.
Well, it looks in. I don't think he felt as though he was there in enough time to make the forehand. And it was.
30-15. Murray has no challenges remaining.
Great angle there again, that trademark hooked forehand from Murray. That's his 8th winner, 8 for Raonic as well.
Game Murray.
Another clean service game. He really is struggling to pick up points against this Murray serve. Just 7 now for Raonic in the entire match. And one massive difference for Raonic as well. This season, as I've been saying, he's been the best server on tour. He's been winning 83% of his first serve points, 57% of his second serve points. That's just behind Federer. Tonight, he's won just 74% of his first serve points. As you can see, the Canadian Rotsgala Blanco in the middle there. Martin Laurendale, also, who reached the third round of a Grand Slam as a Canadian before, also supporting, I think, the Davis Cup captain. Second serve points won 27% tonight compared to 57 on the season.
Unbelievable. I mean, not only is opportunistic, but you have to be pretty skilled just to get a handle on the ball that's coming at you with such spin and such pace.
The silky skills from the Scot again.
I'm not sure which club this is. He's got sort of an open face. Looked like a pitching wedge. Just lobbed that perfectly over the net. Glad this guy doesn't play golf.
He's had such a great strike rate when he's got a racket on the ball tonight. It's almost unreal for Murray. Before that point, 68% of the points were going his way against Raonic's serve. It's almost unfathomable.
I know. I mean, the focus, the concentration, just getting the ball back. You have to be calm enough to make the things you want to do happen. And he's there. He's so plugged in.
Well, it was far more dramatic than perhaps it needed to be at the end after what was another exquisite shot from Murray.
Yeah, that smile says something about Raonic. You know, sometimes you just like playing tennis in spite of losing that battle. He doesn't do much with this forehand, does he? But Murray's there to intercept.
And he's getting paid for having the best seat. A lot of these people are paying 4 figures.
He's
got 10 aces. Could use a few more of those, but Murray steals a lot of potential aces away, gets them back into play.
Game, Raonic.
2 overheads in a rally. It's almost unfair.
4 games to 3. Second
Murray
set,
unable
1
to contain him that time. Still has the advantage, 4-3.
Time.
Well, it might be the Billie Jean King USJ National Tennis Centre, but the man, that statue of Arthur Ashe, is very much in focus here at Flushing Meadows as well. The great Arthur Ashe, of course, this cavernous stadium named after him, and a man that also had a fabulous serve like the Canadian we're watching this evening.
Love 15.
Ashe was such a smooth, classy competitor. I know Peter Fleming and myself both looked up to Ashe as something of a hero because we had a wonderful game, but his serve, like Raonic, it hit the court and accelerated up into the back fence. He had a massive delivery for an era where they're using small rackets. We got it going. He was bringing home big titles. Won 3 of the big 4.
15-all.
I mean, that defense and speed is just remarkable. Again, it's not actually just the speed, it's also just the instinct that he has of just knocking that ball at the perfect pace to recover position and make the next shot so much harder for his opponent.
Now, he's not giving Raonic the ball up high, is he? A lot of his defensive plays are underspin, down low. Trickier to generate pace consistently from down there.
He's hit that serve so well.
Was called good.
Yeah, and this is one of those in-match adjustments. Raonic is going to need to lean over to the forehand side because Murray's taking it down the tee pretty regularly.
Again, there's that slice.
40.
He's got all the shots to neutralize this man's threats. How much do you think that the serving into the forehand tonight has also been, in case the match got tight, to make sure that he could get to the backhand for the big moments?
Absolutely. I mean, you go to the forehand to get to the backhand for sure.
As it is, Raonic hasn't really found a way to be effective off that shot yet.
Game, Murray.
Yeah, and Raonic's backhand just isn't solid enough yet. Again, we talked about a player development. He's going to have to find a way to make that side a little more solid. Just tends to leak at times. Too many errors. Some of them in the net, which is a poor error, but that time was over the baseline.
And that's really going to be Raonic's challenge over the course of his career, because he is going to have to measure himself against the best, because against a lot of players he's already good enough.
Love 15.
Not good enough there, and that's how so many of these top guys measure themselves. Murray 8th best all time against top 10 players, and again you look at the illustrious list of players ahead of him, some of the game's greatest players, Hall of Famers: Borg, Federer, Nadal, Becker, Lendl, Sampras, McEnroe, the 7 players ahead of him. He's starting to post some pretty heady numbers.
Love 30.
Very few players able to consistently keep the pressure on this man's serve, to keep him contained. Murray's done that. Said he felt as though Murray had been humanised after he'd beaten him in Barcelona. I'm not sure he's feeling quite the same way under the lights here in New York.
Well, he's not human when he's behind in the score. He seems to get a lot of first serves in when he needs the most. Let's see what he can produce here. 15-30.
A little unlucky there, Raonic, with the net cord. Set that's lasted 42 minutes, longer than the opening set, but it seems to be heading Murray's way.
Just looked like he was thinking about his options there instead of committing fully to that drive.
Just his 6th unforced error of the night.
Wow, that's an impressive number.
It's got to keep coming because he's not winning the battle from the back of the court this evening, Raonic. Maybe he can get it done up in the forecourt.
So 6 unforced errors from Murray. That's 2 in the first set. Just 4 in the second.
It's getting sloppy.
Oh, God.
How often do you think you got out of the second game of your matches without making 6?
Raonic. 2 great talents we're seeing, that's for sure.
Murray can't seal the set in that game, but he probably can on serve in the next. 5-4. Music, lights, action. It's night time in New York. Murray's been all business. Can he cap off the perfect set here?
Sits, please. Thank you. Time. Thanks. Please be seated. Thank you.
Back into the forehand, this one out wide.
Let for serve.
Just got so many ways to win a tennis point. Raonic just unsure what to do there. He was trying to play his normal sort of rhythmic tennis from the back of the court. Raonic, he's not going to get it done tonight.
40 left.
Again, a deep return position. You go out wide. A deep sort of position in the rally, you play short. I mean, Murray's essentially beating him with pretty simple, straightforward strategies.
Well, it was a sort of...
Did you change your call? Raonic challenging the call left to the service line.
half swallowed call, wasn't it, in the end, from the lines person. Well, it could be his 5th ace, his 3rd love service game. Is it? It is indeed. But more importantly, it gives him the 2nd set and a 2-set to love lead.
Well, from a British viewpoint, very pleasant symmetry to that scoreline. Just an hour and 23 minutes gone, and Andy Murray now just 1 set away from a place in the quarterfinals once again at the US Open. Peter Fleming's courtside. Peter, I don't want to get too carried away, but certainly from where I'm looking, this appears to be one of Murray's best performances of the year, certainly.
Just about. I would say, Marcus, that he's certainly as dominant as he was the other night against Ivan Dodig, only he's not playing Ivan Dodig. Raonic has come at him with everything. I mean, Raonic is playing well tonight, and yet Murray has the answer to everything every question he's posed. And at this rate, he's looking very, very strong.
What, if anything, can Raonic do to try and turn this around in the 3rd set?
I'm not sure, because he's about his forehand beyond the serve. But really, the difference right now is that Raonic has no way to break through on Murray's delivery, because Murray has defended so beautifully, and not only has he covered the court magnificently, but when he does get to balls that are deep in the corners, he's able to keep it low. He's able to hit the lines with some spectacular passing shots. I mean, Raonic needs Murray's level to drop 1 or 2 levels to have any chance in this match.
And of course, the key thing, Peter, now for Andy is to get it done quickly. There's just the possibility of some rain in the air, so he doesn't want to take his foot off the pedal at all, does he?
Rain? What are you, crazy? No, it's at the moment it feels pretty dry, and so let's hope for the best.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
Well, he looks in complete control, doesn't he? What a contrast in so many ways from Saturday. We had the heat, we had the gruel from Murray. Tonight, cool, and coolness from him as well. Back up to the box, Leaf and Mark.
So far, so good. Only once has he lost the lead from 2 sets to love up, and it certainly doesn't look as though he's going to change that particular record of his this evening. He's had all the answers so far, and we know that. So the question really becomes, Leaf, is where does Raonic go from here?
And, well, I'm not sure. I don't think it's about X's and O's necessarily. I think it's maybe just playing your game a little bit better. I mean, he actually could serve a little bit better, and he has made a few miscues from the ground, and I know that's a lot with what Murray's doing out here. But Pete has said that Raonic isn't playing badly, and that's fairly true. But he has to go to another level, because I don't think Murray's going to drop a level. I mean, Murray just seems so plugged in, so airtight. He just doesn't allow points to go by without getting it back together, or is he even missing a point? He seems to be Nadal-like tonight. He's right there every second.
It's the sort of performance that really does underline just what an incredibly great player he is. Can't emphasize enough just how difficult it is to break this man's serve, and how often he's got into service games is as impressive as how he's controlled himself and thought his way through this match.
Yeah, you're right, Petch, because it isn't the most satisfying kind of match in a way, because you're getting aced, you're getting pushed around, and you're having to respond. You're not kind of doing the things you like to do, like dictate, be aggressive, hit great tricky shots, and he's done a few of those things tonight, but more or less he's just been rock solid. Oh, he missed that.
30.
He's had some problems with the smash tonight, and this one right on top of the net. He was going for a very acute angle. Didn't need to be quite this good, but he felt it did.
Not this time. Magic spell just a little off. But again, you just see the depth to his backhand, the spin that he puts on it, whether it'll be topspin, flat. As you can see, there's been a little bit of everything out there, Leaf.
It's wonderful variety. I mean, that's the essence of tennis. You don't want to give your opponent the same look, the same shot in consecutive plays. Give him something to think about. I mean, Murray, like Federer, like Djokovic, they play the game like it's supposed to be played. As much about your tennis, but also what your game is doing to your opponent.
I doubt we've had a Hawkeye graphic that's been quite that sort of expansive. I mean, so often you'll see patterns, won't you, with groupings on the tennis court. I mean, that it looked like it had measles. Do you think one of the other reasons that they brought this match forward, I know we were expecting some, and hopefully it's not coming, some inclement weather, but the fact that Federer got a walkover today, if he had have been delayed tonight, or this match had have been delayed, then the advantage for Roger would have just felt a little too big for everyone.
Yeah, and I think
going towards the end of the tournament.
No doubt. I just feel like some of the Ash customers, these are pretty valuable tickets to have, and to miss big matches like that. If this match had been set back by weather, this would have been a tough day for the tournament, for the fans. I mean, the fact that they're getting this much tennis in tonight makes everyone feel a little bit better.
Raonic challenge the ball. Right near sideline, ball scored mid.
Feel like Raonic was a little lucky to get away with that. He surrendered a lot of real estate. It's not too often that Murray's going to make a mistake like that. Raonic yet to have a break point tonight. only is that a smart serve because it's into the body, but because it's in the middle of the box, you don't flirt with the lines. It's a high percentage play.
First time he's been taking a juice on serve. And that's indicative of his performance tonight, that he's found the right shot at the right time.
Yeah, and when you have made mistakes in the game, it's nice to have a first serve like that, can sort of erase some of the shortcomings you've had in this game.
See, this is the thing you love about tennis, isn't it? The thought process that goes on the whole way through. Murray, who's peppered Raonic's forehand with serves when he's not been under any sort of pressure there. He's taken it into his backhand side. He's keeping the young man very honest. Do you subscribe that you need to get through a tournament comfortably to go on to win it?
You know, I used to think that you did, but nowadays the guys are in such great shape. Sometimes those tough matches, like against Lopez, or you know, one 5-setter, maybe a 4-setter in there, that's good to sort of sharpen your mettle, just hone your nerve for the moments you face coming down the stretch. I mean, it's amazing to think that Raonic at 21 years of age, when Murray was 21, he was making the U.S. Open final. You know, Raonic is on a different path. I'm not sure his time is now. I really don't. And tonight, Murray is playing the role of sort of the wise veteran here, and he's only 25. But again, this is the new young challenger making his mark, and Murray's having to answer the call.
15.
Stats seem a little inconclusive as well. The one thing that does seem to come out is when the favourite heading into the final, and these stats come back from 2001, and there's been 35 Grand Slam finals since 2001. When the favourite has spent less time on court, they've gone on to win 27 of the 35 finals.
15.
But when you start looking at other stats, it all starts getting a little bit more even. 6 of the 14 finals when the underdog won. The underdog had spent less time on court, but then there's been other times when the favourite has spent a little more time on court and has gone on to win. So it paints a slightly opaque picture. Court coverage again from Murray, just so comprehensive.
Yeah, maybe just a little predictable in his play around it there.
There's no question he's got to get that backhand side up to somewhere. It's never going to be equal to his forehand. His forehand's always going to be the big shot, but at the moment he's carrying too big a liability, you feel, against the very best. Need to emphasize that as well.
15-14.
I mean, this forehand pass had eyes. I mean, watch this ball dive cross court. Find the outside edge. And he's nowhere near that.
Been a comfortable viewing for them. It's been comfortable for Murray if he's aware of that. This is coming at his backhand. Well, he got a racket on it, but he couldn't do anything more than just get it back over the net.
And when you see that kind of first serve at 130 miles per hour, you almost feel like, why do you need 140? 130 seems to do the job. You're just showing off when you get up that high.
It's a break early in the third as it was in the second. And this set has a very familiar feel. 2-1 Murray. What was billed as a tricky encounter as we come back inside the Arthur Ashe Stadium court is proving to be very much one-way traffic. There's only been one player in it. In a huge stadium, a hugely impressive performance from Andy Murray. Well, it got the job done, but it could have done with a bit of a nip and tuck. That volley wasn't the prettiest.
Yeah, that wasn't as pretty as a picture, but I think the result, the fact that he won the point, good instinct to come forward.
It is just such a natural shot, and I mean, you couldn't have asked more of Raonic's approach here.
You might have asked a little bit more about defending the net. I mean, look, he's not over that line. And you've got to protect your line a little bit more. Murray was brilliant, however. He started it right to left. Did not have enough left on it.
He had 21 challenges last year, Murray. He managed to get 5 correct. Which clearly begs the question, for someone with such poor vision, he plays incredibly well, doesn't he?
Seems like a lot of his challenges are more emotional than they are practical.
Year before that, 17. Got an immense 6 right. That is just remarkable. Raonic, I'm sure he can't believe he's lost this point.
Now that's a good volley. And again, though, maybe just not capturing enough of that right court. But how does he thread that needle? Incredible.
shots like that that separate the good from the great, because it gets you out of a game that perhaps you didn't have any right to get out of. I mean, even when you look at the highlights of the Lopez match, you suddenly remember that incredible point that they played, 5-all in the fourth, down break point, and he manages to save that situation, get it done in 4. Lesser player would be in the 5th.
And don't forget the backhand pass in the tiebreak to get to match point. That one was cross court. The last couple this game were up the line.
Raonic would love that shot, wouldn't he? Running backhand pass.
Yeah, you're so right, Petch, about the elite players. You know, it just seems like the top 3 or 4 guys in the world, when the most pressure's on, when they need to come up with something just big time, they do. And Murray's in that very elite group of players who defend so well, do all the right things, and end up losing the point. That one went up into the stands. That one had to feel good. It still earned him 1 point, but I think a little frustration out there.
Just to see how late he got up to that, though. I still feel as though, you know, I made the point right at the start of the match, because I felt it was going to be key. It wasn't really his returns. Yes, he hasn't been that effective on it, but hanging on to his serve, if he can get to tiebreakers, great things can happen. But I mean, how many times has he served and volleyed? I think it's none, isn't it?
I don't remember one.
I don't think he's served and volleyed once in this match. Oh, once he did big kicker outside, out wide on the backhand side to finish the game, but that's the only time he's done it. As great as his serve is, and it clearly is a massive asset, he needs to find, like Isner, other ways to defend it when he plays against guys that are getting a read on it. We even saw Raonic the other day serving and volleying the last couple of games against Fognini, just because suddenly Fognini was getting a read on it, getting it back into play.
Well, that's a good second. It was very deep. A lot of slicey, skidding action on it. Yep, he needed this. He has to find a way to hang on to his serve here. A second break. And we headed back to Canada.
Well, it's his 14th ace, but in his first 3 matches he delivered 30 in the first round, 30 in the second, and 29. Murray's kept them scarce. 3-2.
Time.
Seemingly getting better and better with every match that he plays here in New York, building up a nice head of steam for a big challenge for his first maiden major. Murray. For Raonic, well, his aspirations were to be a consistent top 50 player with top 10 aspirations. Well, he's pretty close to that already, top 10. And I think after tonight's performance, he's going to need to perhaps go back to the drawing board somewhat. for matches against the big four. He's only had one win over a top 5 player before. And 6 losses. And on the evidence of tonight, you're going to have to question where those wins will come from. Maybe slightly easier in 2 out of 3. It's a bit of a sprint with a serve like that.
Yeah.
Love 15. Murray has 1 challenge remaining.
Well, here's the challenge that Murray will face, that all players have to face. You have to anticipate that your opponent's going to make a move, try and challenge you. And you feel like this is Raonic's moment. Can you find a way back?
It's the first set that he's managed to really exert any real pressure on Murray's serve, yet to carve out a breakpoint chance. And Murray this evening, when he has been under pressure on serve, has found a first serve every time, and the line. That's an irresistible combination.
Raonic has 2 challenges remaining.
Nothing you knew about that. And again, the change of direction on a big point.
And that just has the slightest hint of spin. He's just catching a little bit of an edge. It's not flat. And that was also something he was working on before this match. Some practice serves with Ivan Lendl standing beside him. And we haven't seen that wild one where he misses by 6 or 8 feet. He's been on target.
14 seconds.
Two 20-somethings out here, but it feels very much like a professor and his student right now.
And is this the headmaster?
I think so. It's the principal. I'm not sure Andy's going to have to visit him tonight.
Yeah, and okay, Andy Murray, you know, he plays a good game, gets back to 40-30. He took a glance over at his box, and he looks at someone like Ivan Lendl up there, and Lendl goes, I like what you're doing out there. I mean, that has to be so reassuring to have someone with that kind of experience, that kind of success, believing in what you're doing out there.
15 left.
Too much pressure again. And when you rush Raonic on that forehand side, you tend to get a weaker play. See here, up the back of the ball, a bit Rafa-like and short. Murray able to take advantage. It's always tough to defend the net against Murray, but I think even Raonic should be a little disappointed. He's under 50% of points won when he's gone up there.
I just also sense Raonic, again, surrenders too much space, and when he goes inside in on that forehand, he just got too much space to defend. I mean, even if that had gone in, there was not much of an advantage being gained going down to that forehand corner. Well, he's tried going into the Murray backhand, and he's seen some screamers go by him. That time he went cross court, and he saw the dipping pass cross court. So Lendl's having a smile about that.
He'll be having nightmares, Raonic, when he goes to bed tonight. Points like that. Once again, Murray coming out on top. He'll serve for a place in the quarterfinals. Well, this has been hugely impressive from Murray tonight. His first serve, just 43% returned. He's had a better record of returning the ball on Raonic's serve than Raonic has managed on the Scots. It's been a comprehensive victory.
Time. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
So you only learn when you lose, and I'm sure Raonic therefore has learnt a lot tonight.
He's been playing some brilliant tennis. He's been challenged, particularly against low.
Well, any doubts that anyone had about Murray's form at this stage of the US Open have been extinguished tonight, as has Raonic's challenge. It's been swift, the dismissal of the 21-year-old.
Thank you. 14.
A set that has seen Raonic challenge the Murray serve for the very first time, but it's also seen Murray break Raonic a couple of times. 4 times in total in this match. Just 4 times coming into this, Raonic had been broken. That's how well Murray's returned and served.